Storygram Network.
If you would like It's Not About Food podcast a week earlier and ad-free, please support me on patreon.com/It's Not About Food. Hi, my name is Laura Lee, and this is It's Not About Food. So it's not about food, and it's not about weight. What is it about? Everything else, because it's never ever about food or weight, never ever, not even one time, not ever, ever, ever. Hello everyone, this is Laura Lee Rourke from It's Not About Food podcast. I am so happy that you're here today. I'm going to talk about feelings. Oh, really a hard thing to talk about. I feel that we live in a culture that doesn't like feelings unless they are feelings that are approved. Like you can be happy, but not too happy. And you can be positive, but not too positive. You can be a little bit scared, but you should just believe in your government or believe in a higher source or believe that everything will turn out okay no matter what it is. So there's all these, if you have a feeling, there's other things that you have to think about that feeling rather than just having the feeling. So I feel like my whole childhood was one big giant feeling that I was not allowed to have. There was no room for me as a little person to have the feelings that I was having in my household, in my church, in my school, in any relationship that I had with really anybody. So I just learned to stuff them down. And as a child, I couldn't get a handgun or heroin. I didn't have any money. I didn't have a credit card. I couldn't do anything about my feelings not ever being okay. So I learned to not really have any. And my feeling a lot of the time was if somebody said, "How are you?" I was supposed to and always did and still do to this day sometimes say, "Fine, I'm fine. I'm perfectly fine," even though right behind me there could be a complete dumpster fire. Because I just didn't know that I could have a feeling, especially a feeling that would upset the grown-ups around me. And it felt like a lot of the time that every feeling I had did upset the grown-ups around me. So at a very young age, the one thing I could do, since I felt so out of control in my, in my surroundings, I could get a hold of food. I could be weird about food, and I was weird about food. So I would only eat certain things, which I'm a very, very picky child about that. And I still am like that. But I was really, really picky, so picky that I wouldn't eat anything. So it was a little tiny anorexic. And I just did not, I knew that the people around me wanted me to eat. And that's how I showed my, I'm not going to eat and you can't make me kind of, pushback. And I couldn't do it all the time because I was in boarding schools. And if you didn't eat whatever they had, then you didn't eat. And the nuns there at that time was okay with that. But I still managed to work the system. And when I did get to go home, I would beg my grandfather to buy me a bunch of food that I would eat that wasn't their food at the school, at the boarding school. So I would come back with a suitcase full of food. And I would a lot of times sell it to the other boarders, actually, little tiny anorexic with a business. But anyway, the point is that I always tried to control the people around me with my intake or outtake. And at some point, I was able to do other stuff. And how I learned to just sort of leave the party, Elvis has left the building, was I would watch TV or I would read, and I would just go into fantasy land, that someday somebody would realize that I was really their daughter and they would come get me, because these people I lived with could not be my true family at all. Or this school I went to just couldn't be, this was not okay with me. It was horrible, actually. So that's how I learned to do that. If I had a feeling, I took it to a book or I took it to whatever I could get my hands on. I also was writing as a little small kid, and I would write, wouldn't even call it journaling. I would just write a story, and the story would be full of feelings, even though I didn't know that then. But that's how I would get that out as well. So fast forward, I become a teenager, and I had still lots of feelings. Still, nobody wanted to hear them. I had no place to go with them. So I really started an eating disorder at that time. So again, because of my youth, of being able to go long periods of time without food, or really strange eating habits, I did that. I started this eating disorder at 12 years old. And so I feel like at some point I started drinking, and then I started taking drugs. And this is all the while that I'm married and I have a baby, and I have jobs and going to school and just living a life on the outside, but inside just stuffing down those feelings. I didn't think like that at that time. I didn't know that's what I was doing. I had no idea that I could feel sadness and fear and anger and jealousy and, these just normal feelings that people get to have, that they just work through and come out the other side. And then there's another feeling right behind it, but you just are able, or I didn't know this, that I was able or could just feel the feeling and move on. I had no idea until I went into AA, because I had just lost myself with alcohol. And that was probably the first time that I was able to admit that I did have feelings. And everybody else in AA at that time, this was in 1978, they had feelings too, and they talked about them. And so I learned that it was okay. From there, I started to recover from alcohol, and then I recovered from drugs. And somewhere along the line, I felt like, well, it's okay to have feelings, but I shouldn't have these feelings, because now I'm in a program that I'm supposed to let go and let God, and not have, if I have a big feeling, I should just pray harder. And so my eating disorder came back. I could no longer drink or take drugs, but I could eat or I could not eat. And that's what happened. But through that recovery, I had to just get down into my feelings, or I was going to kill myself around food or weight or whatever. I was so unhappy. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't drugging. I gave up cigarettes. So I was crazy, because I just was so not able to have any kind of real feeling about anything, because it might not be okay with now the recovered people around me, or just people around me were just say, well, you need to say prayers, or you need to get on your knees, or you need to let go and let God, or you need to not have that feeling because that's a very negative feeling. So many years later, as I worked through this and had therapists that sort of agreed that you can have feelings and that all feelings are okay and you don't have to stuff them down, but you do have to learn how to work with them and own them and be with them. I feel like I had to let a lot of them out of jail and walk among humans, and I would just deal with it. Marion Woodman has a great quote in one of her books that probably came out in the 70s, and she was one of the first writers of eating disorders, anorexia and stuff like that. And she said, what happens when we're little and we're not allowed to have our feelings, we stuff them. We stuff this little tiny person deep inside of us, down, and because that's the little feeling person, and it's not okay wherever you are, so you push it down, way down deep inside, and then you put like a block of ice over that, and then you pave it over with concrete, and then you wrap a chain around it, and you just keep pushing stuff down on top of this little person inside with shut up, I don't want to hear it, I can't hear it, nobody wants to hear it, until at some point in your recovery you realize you have to go get that little person. So you do the recovery work of uncovering this. It was like I was not in recovery, I was in uncovering where was my feeling part. Where was that? Because I had to do it in order to stay alive in the place where I grew up. So I would undo a little bit at a time of excavating this giant hill that I had put on top of this part of me that was holding all the feelings and probably all the quote-unquote negative feelings, which there was a lot of negative feelings I was not allowed to have as a child. And I am not alone in this. I mean, if Marion Woodman, who wrote the very first books on anorexia and bulimia and compulsive overeating, so it was only not her, and then many years later me. Like it wasn't. It was a bigger thing than just my little self. This was a whole society built on nobody wants to hear your stupid feelings. So I finally got down to the part of me that had been just covered in shit all this time and not heard from and not okay and not just horrible little person that was going to kill me or kill the people around me. And I had to reach down and pull her out of there and sort of wash her off and put her in my heart and say to myself that it is okay to have every feeling that you have. There is nothing wrong with so-called negative feelings. There is nothing wrong with being angry. Angry means that your boundaries have been crossed. There is nothing wrong with being depressed. That shows us that we're really, really upset about something. There's nothing wrong with being happy or sad or envious. That's just a feeling of I wish I could have that. And if you use your envy in a sort of a positive way, you notice, I would really like a new car. And so you can work towards that. My point is, all the feelings are perfectly fine. All the feelings are here to stay. And it's our job to go get them if we have stuffed them down like this. I'm not the only person that went through a weird childhood, really, not at all. Go to a seminar sometime, and they're all in there. So I could get well by just feeling my feelings and letting them be okay. So going back to how that felt to have an eating disorder and to come out of the closet about having feelings is, for instance, I would be walking down the street. I would see somebody. Before that, I was okay. I felt fine about my body or my clothing or how I looked or whatever, my relationship. And then I would see somebody who I decided was perfect. They have the perfect body, they have the perfect hair, they probably have a great relationship. And I would make up a whole thing in a matter of seconds. And then I would then turn it against me. Then within 20 seconds, I needed to go on a very severe diet, or I needed to drop my boyfriend and get a new one, or I needed to change my hair, my face, my look, my everything about me in order to look more like that person who I don't even know. And I couldn't even really tell you what she looked like the next day. But I was convinced, because I had a feeling of not good enough, which is such an old feeling for me. And, you know, if I followed that golden thread, I could take it all the way back to my childhood, which really none of us were good enough. I have a family of people who were not good enough. No matter what they did, they were not good enough. And this was a thing that we gossiped about, or this is a thing we talked about. And we would talk about whoever's not in the room of how they're not good enough. And it was just a whole sick sack of pain, you know, that I learned to live in. It was like a little petri dish of bacteria, you know, it was awful. But what happened is, as an adult and as a person who could recover and needed to recover, or she was going to die, I started pulling all of that stuff out, looking at it, owning it, thinking about it, loving it, accepting that feelings are just feelings. They're very, very important. That's what's different about us and other creatures. And it's okay. It's okay to have feelings. So once I was able to do that, I could see that my whole idea of being perfect was really never going to work. And so I could come off of it, and I could let myself have mistakes and be kind of goofy and wrong about things and move on. I didn't have to stay there. I could correct the situation. And if the situation was not able to be corrected, I could accept it. So I would like it if, you know, half of the country didn't think the way that they thought about how I think. But, you know, it's not up to me to change the whole world. It is up to me to speak my truth. It is up to me to vote the way that I think is correct. And it is up to me to fight for change and the rights of other people, the rights of myself. For me, it is the right thing to march against wars and to march for equal rights. That is for me to do. And it's really none of my business if other people don't do that. I hope they will join us and, you know, we become a giant mob that is full of love and wanting the most precious thing, which is freedom. But I cannot anymore worry about the whole world thinking like I do, because guess what? They don't. But I can have feelings about that. It is okay to speak my truth, to say what I want to say, even if I disagree with another person, even if I disagree with myself and what I've just told myself, which I know is not true, is that I'm old and stupid and not okay and probably going to die within the next day or so. These are, I don't know that that's true or not, so I don't have to worry about that today. So when I was able to let go of the idea that I could have a few feelings that were assigned to me, but other than that, if I had those feelings, I was bad and wrong. When I could let go of that, I could live fully. I could just live in, how are you doing today? Well, actually, I'm really okay, but I do have a tummy ache, or I am worried about the state of the world, or, well, I don't have as much free time as I wish I did. Things like that, because it's okay to be quote unquote negative and tell the truth and say things are not hunky-dory, and that's okay. They don't have to be all the time. But I had to learn how to let go of the self-hatred in order to feel just plain old hatred. I had to let go of self-doubt just to have normal doubt. I had to let go of the idea that I'm not okay and go to the place where actually, no matter what's happening to me, my little spirit is okay. This little part of me is okay. It's all right. My body is okay. I'm so grateful for my body, even though I have a few little tweaks here and there. I have a knee thing going on, and then the other knee is speaking up and saying, well, what about me? That knee also wants to be heard from. And then, I'll have like so many little, it's the thing about having a body. There's so many little things or big things that you think, what the hell, where'd that come from? But, that's the price of having a body that you can move around the world with. And I have thoughts that I think, why is that thought still there? Well, I had never got a lobotomy. I just have thoughts. I have thoughts that I have told myself for years I shouldn't have, but they're just thoughts, I have thoughts like if somebody cuts me off on the road, I'm going to follow them home and then jump out of my car like Supergirl and like smash them in the face. But I'm never going to do that. That is like crazy. I'm not going to do that. But I have the thought about it. And that kind of makes me, I don't know, feel better at the time. But I'm not going to run out like I'm not Supergirl. There's not even a real Supergirl. So I feel like these are just thoughts. Those are just feelings. This is just how it is right this moment. My knees hurt. They may not hurt tomorrow. They might hurt worse, but they're just knees. And they've been around for 74 years, and I've been walking on them all this time. And there's arthritis. And so that is not an evil spell that got put on me by, a witch in my past life, or I didn't like a lot of, I didn't hate my knees, and so now they're not good because I hated them. That's like crazy talk. That's like fantasy that if I would change my opinion about my knees would all of a sudden not have arthritis. That's not really true. So I have learned to just stay in the now, stay in the truth, whatever that truth is, because it could change tomorrow. But to stay with my feelings and be okay, accept them, love them, have them, connect with them. They're my teachers. Every little twinge of my consciousness is a teacher. Every little poke of my body is a teacher. Every little idea is a teacher. Every thought is a teacher. If I am brave enough to accept them, I can learn from them. If I'm brave enough to let them be, and if I need to adjust something, then that is recovery. That is where we want to be. I've sat with people as they lay dying, and I've never ever heard one person say, I wish I hadn't eaten ice cream. I wish I had worked a little more. I don't think I was mean enough to my friend. No, everybody always says, like we all know, that if you want to have purple hair, have purple hair. If you want to eat ice cream, for God's sakes, eat ice cream. If you want to marry that person that everybody else thinks is not good for you, marry them. Divorce is cheap. Marriage is cheap. So go for it. Do whatever you want to do. Have the feeling. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't think about it and go through it and go, well, is this really the right thing for me to do? Because of course, that's an important thing. But stop being on your own case about every little thing you do. It's not helpful and it's not good. And love is the answer. Love yourself unconditionally. Have your own back. Tell yourself that no matter what happens, you got you. You'll work through it no matter what it is. And you'll love yourself through it. That is hugely different from how I grew up or how I was taught to be in the world. And it all came from letting myself have my feelings, own my feelings, express my feelings, and let my feelings tell me how to proceed. So thank you very much. Whatever your feelings are, you can send me a little email on my website, which is www.lauraleerourke.com, and send me a note and I will answer you. Feelings are a funny thing, but they're probably not as bad or funny as they have been made out to be. They're just normal. Feelings are normal. We get to have our feelings. So try to stay connected and curious and conscious of your feelings and of yourself. And I'll talk to you in a month or so. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And so kiss me, I'm Irish. Thank you. Thank you for listening. You can find me on all the social medias at It's Not About Food. And if you would like to get the show a week early and ad-free, you can become a member at Patreon. Search It's Not About Food podcast. Thanks so much.